welcome. I hope you enjoy. I don't know how long this will be, but if it's gonna be a long one, please grab a drink, grab a snack. We're gonna chat about books. So I read 13 books, I think. Yeah, 13 books in September, which for me personally, that's like a normal amount to read for me. I read normally between 6 and 14. Depends on like my mood personally, like, and if I have like a lot of time off with school and work, I can balance it out. But September has been great to me. So first off, I started off with reading a series, and I read Love Light Farms. I don't own the entire series, but I read Love Light Farms at the ending of August, so I finished that before September even begin. But then I read In the Weeds, which is the second part in the series. And what I really loved about like the entire series is they're very short, they're fast paced, so that's a plus point for me, or plus point, a plus, what you want to call it. But yeah, so I also gave this 3 stars. This was like my second least favorite in the series, just because Love Light Farms was kind of a bit predictable with everything, how it was gonna turn out, and this was also like not my favorite. There are better books in this series, but I could tell like throughout this entire series, like I read also First Time Caller by the same author, and I did really love that, so I knew the writing was gonna get better as I read the entire series, and that was personally for me a very good insight. Because writing, if the writing is not great, it kind of puts me off of reading, but I'm very happy about this, and I love the couple. I mean, it takes place on a farm. What more could you want? So then I read Mixed Signals. This is part 3. And what I really loved about this book was the fact that they went on cute little dates with each other. Like, they both had a very rocky past with dating and all that stuff. So they tried to experiment with each other. And obviously it's a romance, so they eventually will fall in love. But it was such a fun way to see them do that. And I really loved it. Like, the writing in this book was better than the first 2 parts. So, and then I read Business Casual. I don't have that book, but that's part 4 in the series, and that's definitely my favorite. I rated it at 4 stars. Mixed Signals also is 4 stars. What I really liked about Business Casual was just the whole like the female main character. She's just such a badass. She's a tattoo, or she just opened like her own tattoo shop in this town, and she's trying to make like a big business out of it. And obviously one of the other characters is her brother, and you also get his book in the series. But just there was such a big pressure of doing it okay, doing it great, because her family didn't want to see, or was also always so supportive of her, and she didn't want to fail them. It was just written in such a great way that I really loved it. And then I don't know anymore how I read them, so this is gonna be out of order of which I read it, but bear with me. So then I have Nightshade by the Autumn Woods. Honestly, I started reading this and I saw Scotland, and I was like, this takes place in Scotland. And if I knew that, I was gonna maybe like push it off until October, since I'm going to Edinburgh next month, or even next week. But I think by the time you will see this, I'm actually already in Edinburgh. So yeah, but I really loved it. It's like a college, bit dark academia college romance. She's a swimmer, which I really liked. I'm a swimmer, so yeah. And things happen, and he's like one of the biggest. His father is the biggest, or one of the CEO of a big business, and he's want to take over and everything. And The only point they meet is because her parents die, and his family is like, what happens, or something happened with his family. So there was such a big tension in the book, and throughout the story, it was amazing. And obviously she is badass. Like, look at this cover. In love with her. Also, it's pretty edge. I love it. So yeah, 4 stars to this book as well. Okay, then I have the Book of Ashrow. Don't come for me. I didn't like this one. Look, I can tell that if I read this like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when this was really really hyped on TikTok or Instagram, everything, I think I would like it. I see the potential. It just wasn't it for me. So 2 stars. The writing was okay. The plot was very predictable. Like I said, I think I feel like I've read this book like 10 million other times. Like, get a romantasy, and it will also be kind of like this. And obviously everything is gonna be written and everything is gonna be done. But I don't know. It just wasn't it for me. So yeah, it's a bit of a bum. Because I really wanted to read it for like the past 4 years. Every time it was in the store, I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick it up and then I'll put it back in the shelf. And now I finally read it and I'm not gonna continue the series. Because a friend of mine did, and she was like, it's not gonna be worth it, so not gonna pick it up. Then I have Fearful by Lauren Roberts. Yeah, I think one of my Goodreads review was like, this is fine. Like, it adds a little bit to the story, to what happens in Fearless with Kit and everything, because you don't always get his point of view. I think it adds a little bit to that story. Like, it's a side story to the main story, but I think if you would like read it at the same time, like tandem read it, I think it would add to the story like a lot. So you know also what's going on behind the scenes, like with Kit. But as like how I read it, I wouldn't. Yeah, it was fun. It was like a little novella, but didn't add too much for me. I think if you haven't read like Fearless and Fearful, then read it. I don't know how we should do it, but if you can find it, do it like that. But this was like a sort of 3 stars. I enjoyed my time, but like I said, didn't add too much. Okay, then I have Serpent and the Wings of Night. And I think maybe the problem also was I read this first and then I read the Book of Ashrow. They're both very big and long, chunky romantasies. So I think, or maybe because I rated this 4 stars and I went in with that book into Book of Ashrow with like so much expectations of it, and after reading this book I was like, oh God, yes, romantasy in it. Didn't hit. Maybe that's also why it didn't hit personally for me, but Serpent and the Wings of Night I gave 4 stars. I really loved it, even though it's like 500 pages long. I read this so quickly, and I want to pick up the second part, but I think it's like a very big series right now and very thick, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna pick it up like this year or into the next year. I think that's more doable for me since I have like a couple of series I want to finish before the end of the year, and I don't want to pick up like a very big series also. Like, I'm not gonna have time for that, but very much like the story, like a human into a vampire world with trials. I love everything that has trials and stuff. Even though I think the ending was a bit predictable of book 1, I still really like my time. Yeah, so that was like all my fantasies that I read this month actually. And then I have obviously Queen Elsie's Tale came out with Wildguard, and so many people didn't like it, and I think I can see why, but for me this was like also a 4-star read. Like, Elsie Silver, I love her books, and I'm hoping when I get to Edinburgh next week, there's a little bookstore there that sells signed Elsie Silver books, so I'm hoping to grab a copy of that next week. Very hoping for that. But yeah, this follows what's he called? Sebastian or Bash. and he is one of the brothers you follow, or one of the 4 men that you follow throughout the whole Rose Hill series. And then you have Gwen, if I'm correct. And well, I forgot her name. Yeah, Gwen. I was right. Which this is like brother of son's ex girlfriend 5, but I really liked it. So it's kind of a tricky territory, I think. But for me personally, I really liked it, and also her writing always gets me. So very quick, very fast, but also very deep. Like, so much stuff is happening, and also like it's also a bit predictable. Like, things happen towards the end. I'm like, okay, I could have sensed this like from a mile away, but it's fine. I still really liked it. 4 stars. Pick this up. If you have seen like a lot of bad reviews about this book, pick it up. You need to pick it up. And then, before I forget, I read People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young. Also, I don't own it physically because I'm putting off buying books until I get to Edinburgh next week. But also rated at 4 stars. But basically, that whole book is like, I don't want to spoil like too much, but I really liked it. Hannah Bonham Young writing always is like means a lot to me, and it always follows like a character that has something going on in their personal life, and I think Hannah Bonham Young always translates that like pretty good into her storyline, and it really gets you. Like, the Faraday breakup was predictable and everything, but I still enjoy my time. I think I read it in like one sitting in like a day. Still 4 stars, so very great. And also like the trope in it really reminded me of my Wattpad era back in 2018. I was like, yes, I'm eating this up, this is what I want. So yeah. Then I have another series I read this, or not like an entire series. I continued the series, but I started with Hideaway by Penelope Douglas. This book, if you want to get into the series, please check those triggers, because they're not light reads. They're very dark, but I love very dark books. So do with that information what you want. But for me, 4 stars. I think, except for like the novella that comes with it, I think I've rated every book 4 stars in this series, and that's for me like really big, because I don't always enjoy every book in a series, which is totally fine if you don't. But Hideaway, I read this in a day. I mean, I think that can tell you how much I like a book if I can finish it in a day, depending on like how big it is. But I like that every book in the series comes back to one night. Like in Corrupt, like the first part, something happens with Devil's Night, and every book you flash back to that night and what happens, and every time you get like a new perspective. And I think that's very great. Like, then flashbacks, I'm like, oh yeah, wait, this all connects. Very fun to read about it, but yeah, I would recommend Hideaway or like Devil's Night until like where I'm at. I need to like where I meet Nightfall and Fire Night. Still need to read those, but we'll read them in October. Then I read Kill Switch. Not gonna get too deep into this because I shared all my opinions in my what I read in a week video. So if you want to see that, go back to that video. Also with, by the way, also all my thoughts and feelings were in that book, over in that video. So not gonna talk too much about it. But Kill Switch, like also 2 days I think before I finished this. They're all just very fast paced, which for me I really like if a book is that. Only downside is like page of the chapters were quite long, and long chapters take me out of a book really quickly. So yeah, but still like this, if I know I started with Hideaway, but for Ghost Speech, definitely check those triggers, because I was actually listening to the audiobook while I was doing my book journal for next year, and something happened, and I was listening, and I was like, shit, damn, I didn't know this was gonna happen. So check those triggers. But still, I really like it. I really liked it. Yeah. And then the Novella Conclave. I also read this in my what I read in a week vlog. Like all these last books I also mentioned in that video. But yeah, for me this was like a 3 stars. Like novellas normally don't really get higher than 3.5 for me, depending on like how much impact they have. Like sometimes they add really much or like a lot to the story, and sometimes I'm like, okay, it's not necessary to read this to be able to continue the series. And I think if you want like a little novella in between, it should add something to the story, but like it's 100 pages, so I'm not complaining in between like these very big books. Like this felt like a treat, really it did. But like 3 stars. It was fine, didn't get me, but it was fine. And then lastly I read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Yeah, this is my favorite Ali book so far, and that's basically just because they're both swimmers, and the whole storyline was so great. It was fast paced. It actually got me like from the beginning. I wanted to read more and more and more, just because also like this is marketed as a bit of a spicier book by Ali, which I do agree. Like this is her spiciest book I read by her so far. But what I really like is that they consented with like quite a lot of the things they did, because it's like friends with benefits situation and dumb sub, but they had like a whole list of what things they didn't want or did like. So I think that was very great. And also I gave this 4.5 stars. So this is one of my favorite books of this entire month. But I really liked it. I also highly recommend this book. Actually, I have recommend all these books I read this month, except the Book of Ezreal. And I'm gonna bash it until my end of time. I'm so sorry, but it's not the book for me, personally. But yeah, that is my wrap up of 13 books I read this month. I don't know where I got the time or how I managed to read thick books like this, but I really hope you enjoy watching this, and I will see you in the next time when I update or when I upload a new video. So until then, goodbye.